glad to see that companies are getting into it and addressing the need to have other equipment available in the list that you can control, because not everybody not everybody's in the ZWO or ZWO ecosystem, so there's a lot of opportunity there for companies to develop these little units.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Astrophotography podcast. My name's Steven from Ontario Telescope, and I know it's been a little while. We took a little bit of a hiatus on there, ever since August, I think since Starfest, or just before Starfest, and we had our last guest, Kevin Labor. But we're back, and I've got a repeat guest here I'm really excited about. We were talking back and forth over Facebook Messenger and through other means as well, and Shawn Nielsen from Visible Dark. Shawn, welcome back. And I'm glad you're here. You know, it's you were here last time. We were talking about AI and processing, and you're talking about some of your images of Dark Shark, for those who recall from last time. And Shawn and I were talking, so let's do a podcast. Let's talk about fall targets, because we're in the fall now, and it's that time of year, and I just it's getting cold. Have you been imaging in this fine weather we've had?
I have not had a chance yet to get all the bugs worked out of my system, basically, that I'm trying to set up.
Sounds like new gear. Sounds like new gear.
Well, yeah, it is for me. I've got a harmonic mount now, the Nix 101.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and I'm getting that set up on the Pier 1000 and so forth, getting that all put together. But the Starfield Pier. So I haven't really decided what telescope I'm going to use. Ideally, I'd like to use the 8-inch again, the Starfield 8-inch. On the setup, I'm just sort of trying to determine mobility. If it's, doesn't mean it's a little bigger to lug around and whatnot. You got collimation issues and that, so trying to figure out what the best approach for that is. But I really like the setup with the 8-inch and the Nexus reducer that brings it down to f3. It really is a fantastic combination. Yeah, works.
Yeah, you start getting into RASA territory at that point, right?
Yeah, you're sort of entering into that territory. So, but I just find the data that it collects is really fabulous to work with. So I enjoy that setup. I actually enjoy it more than using a refractor. And I got a number of those kicking around that they're just collecting dust.
You're just tripping over them, I guess, eh?
Yeah, well, I've got 5 of them sitting around, so and they're literally they are just collecting dust at this point now that I've got the 8-inch and the f3 going. So,
well, I got a couple of ideas on what you can do with those with the refractors, but I picked up a new scope as well.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna need help picking it up, actually.
Oh yeah,
I got my hands on a 12-inch RC.
Oh, no way.
F8.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's huge, right? It's a monster.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it the other day because it's still in the box in the warehouse. I'm like, this is going to be a bit of a problem because I don't know if it's going to fit in my pod.
You might want to double check that one.
But I might have to call up Wayne and see
what he's got.
We think over here. But I'm excited to try that out. At some point, I want to replace the focuser on it. I'm not very keen on the stock focuser. But I was looking at the Pegasus. What's it called? Prodigy focuser.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now that they have an adapter that goes straight on. They have some nice features on it too. It's got temperature control built into it, compensation, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, with software, it's got a USB ports on it too, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. But you know what? Like I went imaging a couple weekends ago. I went back up to River Place Park where Starfest is. Right?
Yeah.
It was nice and dark. We had a fantastic new moon weekend, and I'll show you my rig that I used. Actually, I got it out of part. Well, no, I got a part to it, but it's really, really simple. right? That's it. I just used
Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
simple. Yeah.
yeah, and it worked well. So it's a Nikon 810A, right? So it's nice and got the hydrogen alpha component to it.
Right.
But I use this is a William Optics dovetail bar, right? So I get the wide part to it, and I added the EAF
Nice.
with a
That's
belt.
a good touch. Nice.
And then using the L bracket. I don't know if you can see that the L bracket.
Yeah.
Right. I got fancy.
Huh, there you go.
I can put my air directly on it. So now it's one complete thing. And there's a bracket here I can put the guide scope on.
Great.
And
That's a great little setup.
yeah, it was good. There was a shot that I was after, and I thought it was 5 years. Actually, ended up being 6 years. I was after this shot. It was a shot that I saw. I think it was an A-pod that I eventually saw it on 6 years ago, where it was Andromeda in the top corner and M33 in the bottom corner, and Mirage, I think, or Merak. I don't know if I'm saying that right or wrong. Right in the center, nice red star. And I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to so we can take a look at this and bring up that window. There it is. Make this nice and big.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
And so here we are. This is the image that I took. I was actually quite happy with how this turned out. I tried this 6 years ago,
Yeah.
and it didn't work because it was out of focus. And I realized the importance of proper focus.
Yeah.
Right.
How long was the total for this?
Yeah. So we'll get into those details. I kept the exposure short.
Okay.
Right, at 60 seconds a piece. I was using an f2.8 lens.
Okay.
And the ISO I kept it low at 400 because I was trying to eliminate as much noise as I could from heat. And it's like that. I want to keep that dynamic range. That's what I was looking for, dynamic range, because you're going to get noise with the DSLR regardless. And then with the f2.8, I was keeping the exposure short because it was fast. I really probably should have stopped it down to an f4 or maybe a 5.6. But I was able to get the shot. I was quite happy with it. Yeah. Right. The colors turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
Not bad for a guy who hasn't processed an image in over a year and a half, I think.
Really? A year and a half?
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at the weather we've had, right? And by the time it's clear, it's like, I don't really want to. Right. So yeah, I was quite happy with this. But this would only been able to be done this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
As Andromeda and M33 are rising up nice and high.
Yeah, they're in a good position, that's for sure. It looks like you might have been starting to catch some of the faint nebulosity or something going on in there. I'm not really sure if there is much in there, but I'm taking this from Facebook, so it hasn't really not really showing all the great detail that's there. Yeah.
But the nice thing is I can go back. When my plan is to go back with a mono camera, it was just luminance filter, and then do that and combine it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely worth that.
Yeah, that was something that, on the last podcast I was talking with Kevin about, right? The dual camera setup. So if I had two going at the same time, that'd probably be really good. But
yeah, that would be.
That's probably what you can do with all those refractors.
Yeah. You know what? I just don't like shooting with refractors anymore. I just got this shooting with nukes. Why? Yeah.
It breaks my heart.
I know it does.
It breaks my heart. Yeah. But I'll tell you something else I did while I was there. Right. So I did everything there with the ASI Air Plus. Right. Great box. Right. Great device. Anyone that has WO equipment, this is probably one of the best ways to go, unless you need to use a rotator. And if you have, this works with Canon, Nikon, and Sony DSLRs, that's great. But I'll show you something else I had going. And this is actually an upgrade compared to what I had there. So this box, this is a 3D printed box. And inside is a Raspberry Pi 5.
Oh, okay.
Right? Now I customized this box because it has this block on the side here. This acts as a riser, and then I'd have a second one next to it, and I'd have my scope. So I had a 70 millimeter quad sitting on top, and on that I had a Pegasus Astro power box, and I had a focus cube on it, and and I didn't have a rotator set up on that one. I didn't need to, but I had a Deep Sky Dad flip flat panel.
Flat panel.
Thing.
Yeah.
So this is all running on StellarMate.
Okay.
Full StellarMate, the latest version of, no, not quite the latest version. I have to update it. And this actually worked out really, really well. I'm actually quite impressed with it, using the StellarMate app and StellarMate itself. And then once I kind of figured it out, right, it went good. Now, I'll admit, it wasn't easy. StellarMate's not the easiest thing in the world, right?
Yeah.
But, Sequence Generator Pro is not easy for me to learn from the beginning either, right? And I'm sure someone who's getting into it, like you and Nina, right? They have to wrap their head around certain things as well to get it going.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Like, what was your experience with you use Nina? What was your experience with Nina?
Actually, it was kind of interesting because I was using Sequence Generator for a couple of years actually, and I had read about Nina and I was curious about it. So I had installed it and tried it. This was, far enough back that it was still in its infancy and in development and whatnot. But I tried it and really didn't like it. To the point that I went back to Sequence Generator. And then I thought, I was reading more about it and I thought, well, maybe I didn't give it a fair try basically. And so I reapproached Nina with the intent of I was going to image that night, and it either was going to be with Nina or I wasn't going to image at all, basically. So I forced myself to sort of work through it, figure it out. I found things a little more just because the interface was different and the terminology was different and stuff like that. So things that I found easy to do, probably because I used Sequence Generator Pro long enough, I found them easy to do in Sequence Generator, but I didn't find it as easy to do in Nina. So that was sort of making things a little challenging for me. But they've certainly developed it quite a bit at this point over the years to I mean it's very feature rich. You can't go wrong with it at this point. I mean, if you're not using Nina, you're not a real astrophotographer in my opinion. But I'm just stirring up the crap. No.
Wow.
Use what works. Use what works. If you want to, if you want to still, use SGP there, that's fine. It works great. Nothing wrong with it. But Nina certainly has a lot to offer and is worth a look anyways. It is a little difficult to wrap your head around, but that's like anything that you're learning new, whether, that's image processing or image acquisition. You start getting into new stuff, it usually takes a little bit just to figure it out. So,
right.
But,
that still stings. That still stings.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Well, you got the adults and then you got the babies. So
well, the adults use StellarMate.
The adult. Yeah.
You know what? I'll play some. Here's something really cool I found out about StellarMate over the weekend. Right, because I was going over some documentation. StellarMate, I find it very, very well documented. Nina's very well documented as well, right? And that's what I love about that whole open source community, because there's a lot of volunteers that get in there and they update the documentation. I remember talking with Dale about this on the podcast a few years ago, right? And I said, I'm not a programmer. I can't code. What would someone like me be able to do? And actually said, documentation needs to be updated. Testing, bug report, all kinds of things need to be looked at as part of, the community can jump in. So I thought the documentation is really good with it. The documentation I found with StellarMate's really good also. And I was kind of looking at some stuff, because one thing I really want to do, and they've improved on this on a release that just came out. There's a few things, actually, a couple things. I'll talk about two of them. One, there's the EAA, right? The live stacking. So they've made some big improvements on it. But now the big thing for me is a dual camera setup, right? And I think you can actually do multiple camera setups. So we'll stick to two for now, right? And that's where, having the color and the mono cameras together at the same time, I think is really cool. So it's something I really want to try out. I also want to, try having a scope and then a DSLR set on top, so you can have that wide field and you can have everything controlled. which really hasn't been a problem in the past. I think the biggest issue that I have run into, and others probably at the same time, is the guiding aspect of it, right? Because you might get a racing condition between the two when it comes to a dither command, so you might lose a sub. And if one is a really long exposure,
Yeah.
then that could be a problem, right?
Yeah.
I
know
believe
Nina
Nina
has the ability to handle that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's better now than when I looked at it a few years ago. It wasn't as graceful as it is now, I think.
Yeah, no, it's quite improved actually. So
yeah. I think Voyager has the ability to do it as well. But Stellar has it built in. This is another tab, right? So I think without having to need another instance running, it's all in one box. I keep holding this like it's the thing, right? But in here, that Raspberry Pi 5 that's running the Stellarmate OS, I was looking at it and something caught my attention. I was going back to older blog posts, and there was improvements made to the focusing algorithm. And something that I struggle with, right? And I thought this is amazing for someone who's working remote. You know when you have to find that initial focus, right? To get into rough focus and then tell it to focus.
Yeah.
This will do that for you.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I thought that was awesome. So you can set up there's a whole video on it. It's about 17 minutes long, 20 minutes long. So it's nice it's not that bad to go through.
Right.
But you can put up to a high range. Let's say that your focus range on is like from between 0 and 100,000 steps, right? Which is quite a bit. But let's say 0 to 100,000 steps. You set your focus to say 70,000, and you put in a range for steps like every 5,000 or so, right?
Right.
And you basically say search for stars, and it starts going down, and it plots it right until it sees a change,
right,
and then it starts making changes again. And I'm like, that's amazing. And I'm thinking, especially for someone who has a remote setup, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Because things can go wrong if you're remote, especially if you're using something in like Arizona or in Texas, like you have a complete remote setup over there, or if you have something set up in Chile, you need to find your focus. I think that's a fantastic way to be able to have complete control over it. And I haven't seen that in anything else. I don't know if you've run into that anywhere.
No, that's one thing that's always sort of bugged me a little bit, is that nothing was in place in any of the acquisition programs that allowed you to set focusing from a very out of focus situation. And it makes it, I mean, even from a lazy standpoint of, controlling the telescope from inside the house, and having to walk, 40 feet or something like that to go outside.
Yeah, but it's cold outside.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to do that, right? I'm comfortable. Yeah. I won't have to get up.
Exactly. Get the command center going.
Yeah,
right. Think they're outside working the way that they're supposed to.
I mean, that's a great idea. That's fantastic. But yeah, absolutely. In remote situations, that's really good to have. You never know what could go wrong. So
and I'm not trying to like wave the Stellarmate flag and say buy Stellarmate, right? Yeah. But I think it's getting overlooked for what it can do. Not only can it do that, but it'll analyze your focus steps, right, in that curve, and then make recommendations for what your settings should be, exposure time, number of steps, and so on, to get an even better V curve, right? I know, it's just the small things, right? So I thought that was pretty. There's still some things I'm wrapping my head around. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's cool that here's an example. I downloaded a case designed from Printables or Thingiverse, one of the two, for Raspberry Pi 5. I made a little modification to it. I used Tinkercad, right? I put it in. I have a Pegasus Astro Advanced Power Box, which gives me my USB hub, and it gives me dew control and power control. And then I connect it to this, and I plug my camera directly into there, and I've got everything I really need. Right. Yeah. As a complete unit, utilizing equipment that I already have. So I think that's the cool thing. Yeah. But you've been playing with something too. Right?
Yeah. Well, I actually haven't really had a chance to play with it, unfortunately, yet. I haven't gotten that far in my setup. But the where's my thing here? The 2Tech Astro Station. Yeah. that the guy there. He's the well, they're dubbing it the ASI killer, but it has the ability to work with not just ZW or ZWO, however you not want to pronounce it, but all equipment out there, basically anything that they've got in here in terms of the database, and it can be updated as they go along, as they improve on it. But from what I understand so far in talking with Dan from Astroworld Telescopes there, he was looking at it, and the database in terms of the equipment that's in there that you can choose from is quite extensive, actually. So
yeah, I think it's probably using the Indy database.
I'm not entirely sure what it's using at this point. Like I said, I haven't had a lot of chance, haven't had a lot of opportunity to really get into it. What I'm hoping to in the next few days here, getting things set up and whatnot. But it looks like a great little unit. It from what I understand, it functions well. So, I mean, I'm going to put it to the test and see, because the idea is basically to build a mobile setup, which I haven't had in years now, since probably 2016, when, the last time, 2015, 2016, when I really was going out to dark sites and stuff like that. But I'm hoping to utilize this so that I can sit in the vehicle, basically, and control it from either my phone or a tablet, and and do all my imaging, and have to limit the amount of time that I'm outside, unless I just want to look at the sky and whatnot. But just limit that so that just stay warm and whatnot, and not have to. Yeah, not like the old days where I had to sit at the computer in front of the telescope and freeze, basically. So
the Astro Station looks really interesting. I've tried to get my hands on one. Hasn't been easy. I have this from Ioptron, the iMate.
Okay.
This is using a different board, using an Orange Pi instead, the rock chip. It's not bad, right? It's running StellarMate. It has a few quirks, but it's nice and compact, and it has the power outputs on it as well. It's got 3 outputs on to control stuff, but it's not a bad system. And they've been putting this in ounce too.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have a database of different equipment in it that?
Well, this is running StellarMate.
StellarMate. Oh, StellarMate. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they put the StellarMate. No. I'll correct myself. It's not using StellarMate.
Oh.
It's running Ecos.
Oh.
And in K-Stars.
Yeah.
So it's running K-Stars, and Ecos is part of K-Stars.
Right.
The StellarMate OS is Ecos and K-Stars, but it has some nuances to it as well. Then you can use a StellarMate app on your phone or your tablet.
Right.
There's an app for that as well. I have a feeling that it's probably running Indy and Ecos in the background for Astro Station to be able to get into that.
Sure.
Driver database that's there, right?
Yeah.
The other one.
Did you say that you had an opportunity to try it or no?
Yeah, I've used it. I've used it. It works. It does its thing, right? It's StellarMate. And you have it built into some of their mounts as well, which is next, right? So one less thing to have to mount up there, and less.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Much and much, right? But it's pretty interesting. And then the new one that's coming out, I've only seen pictures of it. I've seen a couple of people talking about it online. Has been the QHY Quark, I think it's called, which is an interesting name considering Quark is already used by somebody. So we'll see if that name sticks. But that's using again, it's an Indy-based system with a new client sitting on the top, right?
Right.
And there is a beta out there that you can download and throw onto a Raspberry Pi, I believe. But it's nice to see that other companies are getting into it and realizing that the laptop solution isn't the solution anymore, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely
do everything on this.
I should have pulled out. I don't even know where it is. It's around here somewhere, but I have a prototype for the QHY. It goes like
the
that
old one, right?
What? Yeah, like that goes back to 2020 or 2021, somewhere in there. When they were.
I remember seeing that in
What was it called? What was that
2019.
called now? Was it
Star.
something? Yeah, I can't remember what it was called, but it was
Yeah.
green. It was a green. Was that?
They had two. They had a green one,
Okay.
and a red one. And
Okay.
the green one, oh, I can't remember which was which, but one was running K-Stars,
Okay.
and the other one was to run their own.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
so
And
the
I think it
core
was the green one that was running their own, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, it's
I
been so
think.
long.
Not entirely. Yeah, it's so long ago, I don't recall.
Maybe
But,
it was red and green and blue. I don't really remember, with the colors, but I remember seeing it at NEAF in 2019
Mhm.
and talking to them about it. And I tried to get them to give me one, but they wouldn't.
They wouldn't.
I even brought them cookies.
Oh, really?
You know those maple cookies you did at the airport? They're great, shape of a maple leaf with a maple cream.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't
They
work.
took
Eh?
the cookies though.
They took the cookies. Yeah.
Yeah. They took
I
the
would have
cookies.
snatched them back.
Yeah. I got a nice pen out of it. And
Oh, there you go. You can never be with too many pens, right?
no, not at all. But yeah, that so what we're seeing now from them is probably an evolution of that.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And-
Yeah. And it's certainly, I'm glad to see that companies are getting into it and addressing the need to have other equipment available in the list that you can control, because not everybody not everybody's in the ZWO or ZWO ecosystem, so
Right.
there's a lot of opportunity there for companies to develop these little units. And
I agree, but that the nice thing with the ASA is that out of the box you can get yourself up and running and work in short order, right? It's it's a very good interface.
And it's had years of development and stuff like that, and improvements. That's for sure. I mean, like, we're dealing with new products that are going to have to go through the same development and the same working out the bugs, so to speak. But I mean, I'm hoping, at least with like the tube tech here, this little guy, I'm hoping that they've really done their homework, and it is easy enough to use, get things up and running. And from what I hear, it is. So I'm going to find out, but it's just great to see this is happening, and I mean, one of the things that I always hated was actually having to lug around a laptop and hook it all up and stuff like that. So this is
I think the biggest issue I've always had with the laptop wasn't necessarily just the laptop. It was powering the laptop.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was always a problem too, right? So this certainly could help. I mean, I've got a power tank, but if it's powering a laptop, it's only good for maybe 7 or 8 hours. So, and that's pushing it. That's really pushing it. So I mean, if I can eliminate the laptop, that's gonna make things last a little longer, especially in the fall, winter nights, where you're getting that long night of dark, and you really want to be out there as long as you can.
The evolution that I've seen with this has been Phil, right?
yeah, Phil, my
using a laptop, right? If you have a backyard observatory, people have, a full computer setup there too, which is perfectly fine in that setting. Yeah, you should have power, I would assume, in that type of application. And then from the laptop, the big thing where people are going to those Nook devices, right? Or the little mini PCs. But the issue with those is that there were a few of them on the market, but the majority of them were 19 volts. So it was still a laptop voltage, a laptop power requirement, because most laptops are 19 volts. So that's been an issue too. So now with using these Raspberry Pi based systems, these small microcomputer, Linux based type computers, you eliminate another hurdle to get over. And I should mention as well, I don't have one, and I don't have one. No. One of the first companies to do Raspberry Pi was Software Bisque, right? They put the Sky X on a Raspberry Pi. I don't know the status of that now because I haven't played with it in a while, but I did have that. I did have that software. I had a license of it, and I used it, and it worked. But the only thing is, it would only work with devices that software disk drivers existed for. You weren't using Indie or obviously not ASCOM, right? Which they've gotten around with now a little bit as well, in a way. But there's also so there's that. But they have their Fusion system, which is a larger box, about 10 inches wide, 4 or 5 inches high, right? And it has a Linux PC in it. It has all kinds of power ports and USB, and it runs the Sky X as well, and it has a lot of power to it. I don't use a Sky X. I've used it. If you have a software disk mount, you have to use it. It had lots of power to it, lots of capability, lots of features, add-ons. I feel that's more of a, well, I can still be used remote, so I don't want to bite. I don't want to say this incorrectly or anything, but it's a very steep learning curve with that as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, it's interesting, but yeah. So now we've kind of evolutioned everything. Where now, like I said, Optron's starting to put these directly into the mounts themselves, so it's one less thing to have to worry about, and power up, because it's going to get power directly out of the mount anyway. So hopefully your battery will last longer. But
yeah, no, I agree with what you were saying about Sky X there, and that it did have a bit of a learning curve to it. I know I had tried it, but abandoned it. It was a little. I found it a little too difficult to use compared to other software that was available. So I didn't end up going too far with it. But certainly, I think with the advent of these little boxes here that we can hook on and control everything, we're moving in a totally different direction for the hobby with regards to hardware, and also making it easier, I think, too, for people to get into the hobby as well, and get up and running quickly. More so than what we experienced, 10 years ago, where it was,
and just from a cost standpoint, right? Like if we look at it, a laptop, a good decent laptop, 7-8 years ago, was still anywhere between $800 to $1,000.
Yeah.
Right. You might have had an old one kicking around, or one that work forgot that you had, or something like that, right? that you used, right? But it was there. Honestly, I don't think any of the software we have now would run very effectively on a laptop that's that old, anyways.
No,
right?
No.
These Raspberry Pis, okay, this was a Raspberry Pi 5 with the 8 gig of RAM. So this is a more expensive one. This was $105, $110, right? You can get away with a Raspberry Pi 4. You could pick them up for $50 or $60, right?
Right.
The OS, the Stellarmate OS license was $50 US. Right. So theoretically, for $100, you can have a complete control system. All the software is there, all the drivers, does guiding, does everything. It's in a box, right?
Yep.
The ASI Air, they're $299 US, $400 Canadian, right? They have the Mini, which is even cheaper, right? I think the Canadian price is $270, $279, something like that. So you can get into a good control system, right? Relatively inexpensive, which is good. It's encouraging, because now people can get into it and they're not having to break the bank. They can start off with just a DSLR and have full control with it, right? So I think it's really good. But okay, it's funny. We've been talking for the past
40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And I wanted to talk about targets. Let's talk about some targets, Shawn. Right. I talked about Andromeda at M33. Right.
Yeah.
I have another one. I'm gonna share a picture here. I'm gonna share my screen one more time.
Sure.
Of I posted this on my LinkedIn profile. Right?
Okay.
This California Nebula. This was sent to me by one of my customers, Steve Seidentop. He's in Atlanta. He was at the Peach State Stargaze, and this was an image of the California Nebula that he took. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Obviously, hydrogen alpha. I did this as well while I was at Starfest, and I was quite happy with the way it came out. It's on this box. I still have to extract the data off of. But that's a good target. What would you suggest is a good full target, Shawn?
Well, I mean, it depends on your skill set, obviously, but
something easy. Let's give somebody.
Yeah, well, I mean,
something easy to start with.
Yeah, something easy. I mean, in terms of it being bright and you can get a decent result overall, I think M42 is a great one. But for the discerning astrophotographers, there's always that core issue being blown out and trying to mitigate that. So it sort of falls, I think, into the intermediate sort of class a little bit. But if you just want to get out there with your DSLR and a lens and stuff and take an image of it and stuff, you can get some really fantastic images, or even like, a dedicated astro camera, one-shot color. You can get some really good shots with it. So I think definitely, just because it's easy to find and it's bright, you don't have to necessarily spend a lot of time on it to get a good result. You can certainly check out M42.
I'm just on Astrobin right now, and I'm gonna pull up a picture.
Yeah,
I thought I had one on my Astrobin, but I don't. So we're gonna show a lovely image that was posted a few days ago by a gentleman named Glenn. Glenn Pavey.
Yeah,
did that right. I'm gonna share this.
The M42 is actually one of the reasons that I'm building the mobile rig, because my tree line extends from the east all the way over to the south. So I really only have opportunity to image M42 when it like at this time now, I couldn't image it at all. I'd have to wait until March of 2025 in order to
and then it starts to get low at that point.
And then it gets low into the southwest, and I only really have about an hour and a half each night on it. So that was one of the reasons that I wanted to get back to going out and going mobile. Was to be able to image targets that I don't have the opportunity to image. And like M42 as a target, I haven't imaged in probably 10 years, just because of the situation that I'm in right now. But
I'm surprised. I thought I had one on my Astrobin. I had M42, and from lens picture too, you're able to see the Running Man Nebula that was there.
Yep.
Great shot. Easy target, nice and bright, like you said. It's actually, it's naked eye visible, right?
It's naked eye visible. Yeah, actually, I just saw it the other morning when it was. Well, actually, I shouldn't. I just saw it this morning too. But there was a morning last week. I can't remember what day it was, but I was out at about 6:30, and there it was, Constellation Orion, high up, and M42 was very visible to the naked eye. It was just fantastic to see. I kind of like when fall and winter comes around, because I always equate it to old friends revisiting.
I agree.
Yeah, and it's just sort of fun. It's nostalgic almost to go back and look at these objects, and maybe even re-image them with new equipment or new processing techniques and whatnot. So
talking about re-imaging, here's a shot I'm gonna show you. All right, and I feel I need to redo this one again. All right, the
elephant trunk.
Right. So this is a fairly good object, I think. If you want to get a good challenge, the elephant trunk is starting to get nice and high. It's an easy position right now, and you can image this in one-shot color. You can image it in hydrogen alpha. If you have a modified DSLR, it'll do a very good job as well. I've got a shot of that wide field. Let me go back. Here it is. There. That's the elephant trunk nebula. It's all there. But yeah, these are great That's a great image as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first one I showed you was all in hydrogen alpha. Here's my really bad take at it, I think. This was long ago.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I had images that looked very similar back in my day when I was getting started and whatnot.
Yeah.
Certainly, we all go through that. But I mean, the equipment has really advanced, and the processing capability, like the tools that we have available now to even improve the data that we collect.
Absolutely.
Is just mind-blowing,
yeah. I think if I probably took that data, you talked about this last time as well, and reprocessed it or put it through some of those tools,
you'd probably be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the data is good. It's just the processing techniques at the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, it's probably the processing techniques where you're concerned. Sure.
The processor, yeah.
But no, in all fairness, I mean, when, many years ago, the equipment wasn't as good as it is now, necessarily, right? So, there's a lot of improvement that's taken place, especially in the last few years. We've seen new products and new things hit the market so much. So here, I'll share one too that I took an image of, and this was taken using the Starfield, actually, the 8-inch with the f3. Okay, so that IC405. That's a great target for a number of reasons. Not necessarily because it's bright or anything. I mean, it's not bad, but I just think that the intricate detail that exists in it, in the nebulosity, if you're shooting for the H alpha end of it, is really fascinating. So this would be a great target for, like you said, the one-shot color to capture color data, and then have your mono for your narrowband end of it. But in this case here, this is strictly an H alpha LRGB image that I collected data with. I'm not sure which setup I was using here in terms of the camera. It probably would have been, I suspect it would have been the QHY 268 they used for it. Yep. Yeah. The mono version. So great image. I think with this one here, the trick for IC405 is to try and really get enough data to bring out that center reflection nebula that exists there with the color. You get the color right. Yeah, it's actually really challenging. If you're interested in an object that gives you a little bit of challenge, this is definitely one of them. I think, to try and get that just right. Anyways, not easy to do. The other thing too, interesting, is that when you're imaging this, that star there is actually a runaway star from the Orion Nebula. It's actually it's moving through space, and it just happens to be passing through this region. But they've traced it back, and the consensus is that it's a runaway star from the Orion Nebula. So
wow.
That makes it a little more fascinating to image, I think, when you're actually not only just collecting data, but you're thinking about things like that too. The wonder and the awe of what you're imaging.
So I wonder if you were to go back to that in a year, and then a year after that, and
would you see a difference, a movement? Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think anyone's really done that necessarily, but you'd have to go back a little bit in data, maybe 10 years, and see if there's a noticeable difference.
I've seen that with the M1. The Crab Nebula, where they've done that. I think NASA released that, right, where they could show it expanding in the movement over, wasn't even that long of a period of time that they had shown that. Okay, I've got one I want to show. This is the Pac-Man, right? Okay. And I'm actually proud of this one, although people are going to probably look at it and roll their eyes. All right. But this is the Pac-Man in SHO. This was the first SHO image that I had done successfully. And I was quite happy with it. This orange on the bottom here, this is all DS2 data that really kind of made it pop.
Yeah.
Well, what's nice about the Pac-Man, it's always there, right?
Mhm.
So it's a good target basically all year round.
Yep.
Unless Cassiopeia gets really low, depending on where you are, right?
Mhm.
And this can be done in one-shot color or narrow band.
Mhm.
And one-shot color is going to be very red, but the definition is still there, right? And you can see the Pac-Man that exists in it. So that's a really good object. Another one, I don't have an image of it, but I think it's really cool, being the Helix. Right, this is a good time of year for the Helix.
Yeah, the Helix is good too. Yeah, it's rather low.
It's a little low for us, but if you're in, if you're further south, for all the listeners in southern U.S., I think it'd probably be a much better object to go after here.
The rising right now too. You know, a lot of people they like to image the Iris Nebula,
Yes. Yep.
which is kind of an interesting object. It sort of poses, I mean, from a beginner standpoint, you could certainly image it and you know, walk away with a nice image of the core of it. That's that if you're really, you know, that avid astrophotographer is capturing that faint dust all around it. That becomes challenging and difficult to do. So that's another really great object. And
I've always been interested in that object because it looks like it's a portal to another dimension.
yeah, I know. That's what I thought too. Yeah. Same sort of
really,
thing.
really, really cool.
Just,
there's some really good objects, and I think you know, we didn't mention the Pleiades, which is nice as well. Right?
yeah, the Pleiades are great. Often mistaken for by people not in the know as the Little Dipper. Surprisingly.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it does look like that in
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
in a way. It was the I think last year at Starfest it won image of the year, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
From Mr. Robitaille.
Right.
He won. That was a fantastic image of it. That's a really good image too for someone who's starting. It's nice and bright, right? You just need to get some good integration time on it in order to get that blue. And get what I like also, you get that wispiness, right? It's just not.
There's
some definition that's there, right?
There's a lot of definition in there if you can capture it. That's for sure. But the Pleiades can be challenging too, right? Because you got to control those bright stars along with that faint nebulosity. So it poses for those, you know, again, those that are avid astrophotographers, it poses a nice challenge, you know, to try and control those stars and bring out that nebulosity. So yeah.
Well, I think it's important if you're looking for deep space objects now to image, right? For everyone who's listening.
Yep.
Before galaxy season starts up again in the new year.
Oh god, galaxy season.
Now's the time, right? Oh, you know what we didn't mention, right? There's this is going to be this is on my list for this year's the Rosette.
Yeah.
Right. Beautiful target, one shot color or in narrowband. My favorite part of the Rosette is the cosmic wrench.
Okay. Yeah.
Familiar with that?
No.
Okay, so take a look at the Rosette.
Yeah.
Actually, look, you know what? I'm going to see if I can find
Yeah,
a nice,
the Rosette.
Man.
Isn't that the one? Someone was. What were they seeing in it? There was something that people were seeing in it, and I can't remember now. Once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it.
Okay, so I have an image here. Let's see if it's on here. This is Cadwell 49, the Rosette, which is going to be just left of Orion. Yes. Okay. This is a nice image. Let me share my screen one more time. Share. Okay, so this image is from Aiden Kingshot and from a remote observatory, and that's a beautiful rosette, I really think. But right here, right there,
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
I call that the cosmic wrench.
The cosmic wrench. Yeah.
It looks like a wrench. So whenever I see a rosette online, I always zoom in, circle it, and cosmic wrench. And some people get a kick out of it. Some people roll their eyes.
I think it was the rosette. I just look it up here. I think it was the rosette that people were seeing a skull in it or something. Yeah, it was it. Yeah, if you looked at it just right, it looked like a skull, a human skull. You can see where the I actually have, I guess, let me see here. Oh, I I did a Google search and guess what came up? My image.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
awesome. Here, let me share my screen. If I
Please.
can do that. How do I do that here? I'm in the same browser, so hold on one second. Let me just figure this out.
You pull that tab out?
I can, but I don't want to.
Okay.
Just to be different.
Just to be difficult. Thanks,
No,
Shawn.
I'm gonna
Thanks
have to
a lot.
pull the tab out. Yeah, no, I gotta do it. I hate pulling tabs out, but okay, there we go. I pulled it out. All right, so let me share the screen here. And I want a specific window, that one there. There we go. Yeah. Oh, wait, not that one. Sorry, that's not the, hold on. Wait, I got it over here. There we go. This is better. There. No. Wait. Oh.
Same one.
Oh, it's the same one. Never mind. Okay, we're gonna go with this one. We're gonna run with this one. But anyways, yeah, so we got the, what's that?
There's a cosmic wrench.
Yeah, it's right
Right up
there.
top.
So yeah, so if you orient this right, so you've got the eyes would be here, you got the nose,
Oh yeah, I see it.
the cranium and stuff. Yeah, you see it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was a lot of talk last year about that where it was being referred to as the Skull Nebula.
There already is a Skull Nebula.
Yeah, I know. But it was just one of those, it was very apparent when you looked at it.
It is. The rosette just needs to stay in its lane.
No doubt, eh? Here's another one too. This is more winter, Ned, but I just want to sort of highlight it because it's a really fascinating region for detail, which is the Christmas tree cluster in the Cone Nebula. That one there is just fascinating in terms of the detail that it has. So, and this was taken again with the Starfield 8-inch at f3, and using it would have been the QHY 268M at the time, but I mean, it's just fascinating to look at this and see the details going on in it and the complexity of the region with regards to what's that?
There is a lot going on in that.
There's just so much going on, and it's such a colorful region too with the star field and that. It's just amazing. I love looking at this one and imaging it. It's always, but again, I'm in that situation where, you know, unfortunately, I can't image it until next year. So, but we'll see with the new mobile setup how it goes. I'm looking forward to getting out there and giving it a good shakedown,
or a chainsaw.
Or a chainsaw, yeah. I believe me, you know what? It's a catch-22 because I like the trees depending on the situation. You know, it's great in terms of don't have any neighbors in the backyard. There's no outlets in the green space, but when it comes to astrophotography, it really sucks. Yeah.
You need to get a tree filter.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I'm sure the cloud filter will come out first.
Yeah. Well, they did a joke. It wasn't it one of the retailers in the States, a couple of the guys doing their...
I sold them too. Wasn't that beginning of April, always beginning of April, I'd have them in stock. The cloud filter.
The
H2O filter.
They did the cloud filter, and they also did one that you could image during the day as well.
Yes, I remember that one.
You remember that one?
Yeah. Cool. All right, Shawn.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your
Thanks
time.
for having me. It's fun.
Yeah. It is fun. Yeah. So, you know, everyone that's tuned in, thank you very much. You know, Shawn Nielsen from Visible Dark, right? Shawn is here in Canada as well, in Kitchener, Canada, Kitchener, Ontario, just down the road from where I am. And Shawn, we need to get together again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we did before.
Yeah.
But Shawn, thanks a lot. Oh, well, quick question. Have you seen the comet yet?
No, Wednesday is my next opportunity. Yeah, it's supposed to be clear on Wednesday.
Last night.
Did you? Oh yeah, I saw your post. Yeah, I saw your photos. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, it was just
was it good like visually?
You could just see it visually.
Just see it,
right?
Okay.
Just see it visually. And I think if it was darker, right, without the clouds, you'd be able to see it no problem.
Sure.
But it was just getting visible. On a phone, no problem to take a picture. I'm sure if I had a camera, it'd be better as well. But
Yeah.
the 3-second exposure on my iPhone came up just like that. So
Great, good.
really,
Yeah, no, I'm looking
really
forward
cool.
to it. So it's supposed to be clear
it's
Wednesday.
exciting.
I'm gonna head out and try and capture some photos of it. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Shawn, thanks again. Everyone, thanks for tuning in and watching the Astrophotography podcast, and we look forward to bringing more episodes to you soon. Clear skies, everyone.